Hello everybody, this is Karik here, and today on Review and Release we are going to be reviewing Anno 2070. Now that's Anno 2070 with the DLC Deep Ocean, so if you are playing the game I do recommend getting that as well. Now it's a city building game, but it is also kind of an economy manager. While you do build your cities, I think the majority, if not maybe about half of the focus, is on building your economy and making sure that you have the right trade, the right supplies, the right kind of happiness in your city so that it stimulates trade. And so I'm going to put it as an economy manager, maybe even foremost. Now you'll find three factions, one of which is an ecological faction. They're interested in keeping each little area as clean and ecologically friendly as possible. The other is a capitalist faction, I dare say, and they are most interested in making money at the cost of the environment or whatever needs to be expended. And the third faction is a scientific faction, so they're interested in scientific advancement. They're not as interested in quick economic or ecological advancements. So in this game there is also some combat potential. You can build military units, but they are not the focus by far, and if anything, it may not be that well fleshed out for those of you looking for a RTS combat experience. Now, there is a story mode, and it is fairly, fairly time consuming. It's taken me quite a few hours to get through it, and a handful, I should say more than a handful. If I had like 8 arms, it'd be like all those handfuls of missions, because there are multiple paths and multiple kinds of stories, so you're not really left with nothing to do. And even if you do finish, there's a nice free skirmish kind of mode you can enjoy. Now for the pros, there's a lot to keep people busy, especially if you're a completionist. I mentioned all the different kind of missions and stuff like that, but it comes with little achievements just for itself. They're not Steam achievements, but that's fine if you want to get all those. There's also a ton of online challenges and scores, who can beat the best time for each mission and things like that. So if you're a completionist, you will probably destroy your life. And it's a pretty good game to play with friends. There are some multiplayer aspects in a way, and it's pretty neat because you can set up trade routes, obviously, with other factions, and you can really talk and deceive with humans. And there's deception involved sometimes. It's much more interesting. Now, it did an excellent job of supply and demand mechanics. I did enjoy those, and if you enjoy the trade kind of games that are out there already, I do suggest you try it. It's kind of simplified in this game, but basically you have a lot of something, you sell it or use it, or spread to the islands that don't. If you don't have any of something, you need to try to import it or buy it, and from that you can make your own. You make a lot of money, really, if you're pretty smart. Now, there's a ton of online interactivity, including votes and missions. Like, you accept a mission for a certain side. Every once in a while, a mission will come up. It'll be a new mission, and you get to accept which faction you want to tend to it as. I should say whose interest you want to tend to it as. So you choose the ecological faction. They're going to ask you to do something that probably helps the environment. There's also the votes. Like I said before, you vote for a new representative, and if you vote for the capitalist kind of guys, the kind of policies and the benefits your civilizations will get are going to be from that faction. Now the cons, and I got quite a few of them, unfortunately. It is a bit of a repetitive game. Now, that is the kind of the nature of city building games, but usually they're repetitive in a way that keeps your attention better. Now, I found I was getting bored and like, why am I doing this? The same thing over and over. I build people's housing. They want stuff. In order to give them stuff, I need to build more this resource. Great, I can build more houses, and the cycle continued. It's the same problem I had with Cities XL. I was always expanding my population, and they always wanted more crap from me. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't do much to keep my attention. As far as the AI goes, I found they were kind of poor. There are plenty of times they could have exploited me or attacked me or not traded with me and stuff like that, and they just didn't eat that up. If you're looking for a challenge, I don't think this is the game. It's easily exploited, and they could have probably done a more tactical job of managing the AI. Now, the conflict system in general, if you do a bone to pick with somebody, there is a diplomatic menu, but it's kind of lacking. And failing that, you basically declare war. At least this is what I usually did, and attack. Now, if you decide to attack, there are only a couple different kinds of ships, and the damage to them is pitiful. If they really go for a war, they're kind of drawn out, they're unrealistic, and they're kind of annoying side attractions. So, unfortunately, it looks like a lot of people, what they do is they go to the point where they can just crush their opponent, and that's how they win. I feel like there should be better options to win in a game that should not be focused on conflict. Now, there is no sandbox mode per se. There is a free skirmish mode, but I would like the opportunity just to build a city. In City Builders, I want to build my most beautiful city possible. Give me a world free from restrictions for just one option I can play around in. Something I can play around in and just like build the perfect city, but it doesn't have that in this game. Now, there are a lot of cheesable tactics you can employ. For example, in one of the story missions, I traded rotten fish for huge sums of money for a long time, even though the mission was for me to basically cure the fish, or make the fish good to eat, but it was way more profitable for me just to sell the rotten fish forever and ever and ever. I don't know what this guy did with the rotten fish, but he made me a fucking billionaire. So that's a little bit of a negative in my point. The scale is kind of small. When you do select, for example, in a free skirmish mode, I selected the largest map size, like the most islands possible and stuff the first time, and it still was too small for me. I want some like massive world scale, but it only gave me tiny little scales at a time, little places. Only one profile, and I'm going to attribute this to Uplay being involved. Uplay has to activate every time. Even if you activate from Steam, Uplay activates after, and then you can play. Now, the profile you make in-game is connected to your Uplay account, which means that you only get one. My girlfriend wanted to play. She didn't want to play on my account because she feels bad. I didn't told her I didn't care, but hey, it's annoying. I should be able to have multiple accounts with multiple different like characters, but unfortunately it's always my character now, and that's a flaw, man. People are gonna play. It's a home computer. If you're a guy with a family and stuff like that, so people are gonna want to play on it. So let them do it, not on your account. Now, many things in the game seem to me to be trialed by fire, and by that I mean a lot of the tooltips. It gives you a ton of tooltips, but at the same time, it just tells me how to do it. And I don't really understand the consequences are a lot of the time. And there seems to be a lot of stuff you could read, but I shouldn't have to go and read like a whole fucking manual for a game like this. I feel it makes me not enjoy it as much. And one way you could do this to learn the game is to play the whole story, but that's a lot of hours to sink in. And I don't really want to invest that necessarily if I just want to play. Now, I guess this isn't truly a con because a high difficulty curve like this is applauded in some games, but in this game it did not feel really necessary to be that steep of a difficulty curve. So let's get on to the score. For gameplay, it can feel a little clunky at times. The maximum amount I can zoom out always seemed a little way too close, and like I said, it was kind of repetitive, so I had to give it a 1.5 out of 3, only going for the half of the total on that one. As far as addiction goes, it can be addicting. I was definitely playing for long periods of time here and there, but it was never like, man, I should hop on for 5 seconds of Anno 2070. No, it never happened. So I have to give it a 1 out of 2. Unfortunately, it didn't make that full amount. As far as reliability goes, I had no issues. It definitely can be a little demanding in your system, but it runs smoothly. So it gets a 1 out of 1 for me on that one. Atmosphere. It does getting you into the idea that the world is kind of flooded. It gets you moving in trade. You do find yourself looking at numbers and getting immersed in those numbers, but I don't think the dialogue was very immersing. It's also like cheesy and repetitive, but the soundtrack helped it get more immersive. The soundtrack was really good now that I think about it. So we're going to give it a 1 out of 2. And finally, replay value. I don't think there's very much. Play through it with each of the factions a little bit you know, play a couple skirmishes, play the story, and you're done. I don't see myself going back to it. So I'm giving it a 0.5 out of 2. Now, if you're a math whiz or you've just been paying attention, that would bring us to a total of 5 out of 10. Yikes, that's my lowest score ever. So, well, as of June 16th, 2015. So 5 out of 10 is going to have to do it. Sorry guys, hopefully there's a new Anno coming out soon. It is apparently attempting space travel, building on the moon and such, and hopefully that'll be an improvement. Until then, I will see you guys, watch more videos, enjoy the stuff that's out here, and thanks for watching this one. Have yourselves a great day.